If you can give me a thumbs up in your reactions, or if you've got your thing going on. What is this thing? It's called a camera.
Hey, how you doing?
Hello, hello. Welcome. I see some good faces. I'm excited. So, hello everyone. Happy
Hi. Friday.
My name is Veronica Black. I am the programs coordinator for the Center for Teaching Excellence. The Center for Teaching Excellence is here to serve and to champion our faculty. And every fall, we put together a several-day event called Development Days, and graduate orientation is a part of that. So we are happy to be hosting this. So we're still letting some folks in, and we'll kind of keep things going. And but just some housekeeping things really quickly. Please make sure that in your participants on all of our little virtual squares that we see your name. And it could be your first name, last name, doesn't really, if it's first and last, that would make it really easy because we are taking attendance. So if you could make those changes, I know I've seen a couple of names come through, which have been great. But then some I'm not quite sure. Like I saw an iPhone. Don't really know who an iPhone is unless you're Steve Jobs, but he's dead. Poor Steve Jobs. Anyways, so if you could make those changes for me, it just makes it easier, like I said, for us to make attendance. This orientation will cover a lot of really awesome things. So if you could, during our presentations, just keep your mics off. If you have questions, please utilize the chat feature. Throw out questions. Leon Bustos, the director of our, let me make sure I get this right, our Highlands Undergrad Enrichment Program, right? Excellent. He will be monitoring questions and trying to answer them, but also flag them for our presenters as well. So we will be keeping that, keeping our eyes on that. So please use that feature. Also, please, if things start to freeze up for you, because we are in this virtual space, and there's a lot of folks on here today, please feel free to turn off your camera. It might help with some of the lag and some of the sort of choppiness of things that can happen as we are all together on this virtual plane. With that, I think that's everything. We are about almost 5 minutes into our orientation, and I want to be mindful of our time and my enthusiasm. I've had a lot of coffee this morning. With that, I think, yeah, I want to also kind of encourage you. If sitting in front of our computers can be very taxing and very, I don't know, by the end of the day, I'm pretty drained. And all I've done is sit here and look pretty. And so please feel free to, if you need to, kind of step away, do some stretching, get you some water, hydrate. Hydrate is always important. We are in the desert, but hydrating is always good, whether you're in a desert or not. So please feel free to kind of step away when you need to. And this will be recorded. And I'll start right after all of my crazy remarks because that's embarrassing. I don't need that on film anywhere. Oh, it is recording. Oh, IT, you're sneaky. Never mind. Now it's on for life. Anyways, that being said, I think we are still letting some folks in. So we will go ahead. Does anyone have any questions? I'll take this like last 5 minutes.
Veronica?
Yes.
Maybe you can kind of introduce yourself as well as your background with Highland.
Oh.
Just long and kind of a little bit longer than just your role. Like if you just, that would be cool. And then also if you could just give them a sense of the agenda, like what's getting covered today.
Of course, of course. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Dr. Williamson. So a little bit of my origin story. I arrived in New Mexico in 2006 as an undergraduate after a whole bunch of transferring and figuring out, and I finally landed here at Highlands, and Highlands was a great experience. I finished up my undergrad here, my BFA in media arts, focusing on filmmaking, and did a minor in fine arts. I love the experience of being here at Highlands in this capacity. As a student, it was awesome. I took advantage of everything that Highlands has to offer, and Highland has so much to offer. My partner was a graduate student here, so I've got to see a lot of the perspective of being a graduate student here at Highlands, and there are a lot of amazing resources and opportunities. So I hope, even though we are in this virtual space and not physically on campus, I hope that you take those opportunities as well, because they are still out there and available to you. After graduating with my BFA, I and my partner moved to New York City. I highly recommend it. It's really weird, but lots of good food and bagels. I miss bagels. And we did our higher education there. I did my MFA at Parsons School of Design, where I focused on design and technology, and particularly interactivity for museums and wearable tech. So pretty broad, but also really awesome. And my partner did his doctorate at Columbia. After New York, after living and working in New York for a while, we found ourselves back here in New Mexico, go figure. But it was really great. And now I am in this capacity here at Highlands, working with former colleagues, former classmates, former educators, well, not former because they're still there, but they're former to me. And so wearing a new hat and having this sort of new familiar has been a really awesome journey for me. So you never know what path you're gonna take. So in my last couple of minutes, I'm gonna kind of run over our agenda really quickly. So we have Dr. Williamson is going to present the Graduate Handbook to you, kind of give you an overview of what that is. Please take some time to really dive deep into that material. It is a very helpful tool for you. The chairs of our Graduate Council, Dr. Glover and Dr. Gladson, will be here to sort of present the council and represent the council. We're going to have some resources coming at you from the library. So April Kent will present about some of the things for your research and some of the things that you'll be doing as you work on your field projects and your theses. Cathryn Brooks-Williams, our Graduate Affair Coordinator, will sort of go over the sort of expectations as a graduate student. She'll run you through that, then we'll take a break. Then Ruth Miriam Pulaski, I'm still working on making sure I get that correct. She is the director of our Compliance and Title IX Coordinator, and she'll be kind of coming in and talking to you about some of the compliance and Title IX guidelines that you'll be expected to know. And then Latasha Burbank from our Center of Advocacy and Educational Coordinator from HU Cares will come in and kind of give you a rundown of those resources that will be available to you from that capacity. And just to wrap us all up, the exciting FERPA training, which is what you need to know on how where you're protected and your safeties lie, and that of other students as well. So Henrietta Romero from Registrars will be coming in to wow you with FERPA. So all really important stuff. Again, this is all being recorded. All of this will be made available to you a little bit later, but this will be a resource for you. Okay, oh my gosh, I did that all in my allotted time. Woohoo! I'm really good at this. So if there are no questions, let's dive in with Dr. Ian Williamson, and he will wow you with the Graduate Handbook.
Okay, thanks a lot, Veronica. I'm glad you introduced yourself in that way because get a sense of that Veronica came from here, has been here for forever as well, and loved it enough to come back. So as well as Ben, her partner in English, so, and who's an English faculty member. So my name is Ian Williamson. I'm originally from Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm from the Midwest. I did my undergraduate and graduate schooling in Minnesota and St. Paul, Minneapolis. How I came to find New Mexico was I was 20 years old. I was we took a spring break trip down here in like a 1975 Honda Civic back in 95 or 93 or something like that. We barely made it here, as you could imagine. And the cars were a lot smaller back then, so I drove with 4 or 5 friends down here to go to the Gila Wilderness. And we went through the Colorado Rockies too. We thought it was going to be warm and sunny in Colorado. We hit a blizzard. We barely made it through. Our car broke down in Silver City. Got to stay the night in a tent in the backyard of some hippie. We got to camp under the Jordan Hot Springs, and I fell in love with New Mexico. So when there was a chance to apply to a faculty job, I took it. I was a psychology professor before I was an administrator, so I was a psych professor from 2004 to 2018 here. And since then, I've been working as the AVPAA, which is largely directing grants and contracts and working with faculty on program submissions outside of the university to get approvals and things like that. But I'm also now interim graduate dean, so I'm here in that role in front of you. So regarding the graduate handbook, which is the topic that I'm charged to talk about today, I'll just say that the 3 times you really interact with our office are usually at the beginning of your careers here, at the end of your career here, and if there's some kind of trouble, unfortunately. So part of what I have to talk about is like the sort of things that happen when there's changes or there's issues that happen between programs and students, and because that sometimes gets referred up to our office. And so I have to cover that as well. I don't love to cover it, but I think it's good for you all to know those situations as well, so that you know what it is that can happen at various times in folks graduate can and does happen, and just be informed and know those danger signs as well. So I'm going to share my screen so that you can see a few slides. So covering the graduate handbook today. And I'm also gonna try to see as many folks on the screen as I can. So just looking at expanding my window here. Do you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
All right, good. So Highlands is composed of 1 college and 3 schools, the College of Arts and Sciences, and I think most of the folks who are here in this room, because you're required to be here as GAs, are from the College of Arts and Sciences, although that's not uniquely true. We also have folks in education, the School of Social Work, and the School of Business, Media, Arts, and Technology. So those are our 3 groupings. And when you're admitted as graduate students, you're going to be put on regular or provisional status in the beginning. Regular status means just that's a full admission. There's no stipulations or contingencies. Provisional status isn't a problem. It's just that there's some type of thing, that provision, if you will, that you have to meet in order to be fully enrolled or admitted. Those provisions are typically that you have to, say, maintain a GPA of 3.0 or higher in your first semester. You have to take some course because your preparation, maybe you applied to business, but you didn't have a business degree coming in. So there's like a course or 2 they want you to take in order to make that up and be fully prepared. And so there's a provision that we put on. And those provisions mean we're just sort of looking to see that those provisions are also met, and then once they're met, you have regular admission. So that's sort of the difference between those two admission statuses. Some folks come to us with graduate credits already, or they want to test out of a certain class because they have taken something related and the program is willing to arrange some type of test out sequence in order to get credit for a class. Those aren't common situations, but they do happen. And generally speaking, the current policy in the handbook is that programs can take up to 25%. There is a unique application in social work where they can take potentially more because there's articulation agreements nationally in social work. But generally speaking, programs can take up to 25% of other graduate credits that are coming in. Now, I want to say up to. The reason I say that is because you're not guaranteed that if you have 25%, let's say 9 credits of a 36 credit program that you offered from another place, you're not guaranteed those 9 credits. The program has to approve it. And generally what they're looking at is whether or not those courses align with their courses and performance in those courses. So, but programs can consider that, and it's important for you all to know that. When you come in your first semester, we want you to fill out a program of study. The program of study is essentially like in an undergraduate major plan, which is telling us what courses are you going to take in your graduate program to complete your degree. It's a plan, it's a program that says this is what I'm going to take that aligns with what the program is essentially telling me to do to become a master's degree recipient. And those are the courses I'm going to take. In master's programs, those courses tend to be a little bit less flexible than undergrad. That is these are professional programs of study that in many cases are aligned with licensure requirements in the state. So for instance, in social work or counseling or psychology, that program isn't even determined necessarily by the faculty here. It's determined by those licensure bodies that say, you need these courses if you want to be a licensed counselor, or you need these courses if you want to be a licensed social worker. So programs don't necessarily have flexibility with the curriculum in the same way that they do in undergrad. And you just need to be aware of that these programs of study tend to be a little bit more rigid than those in undergrad. So we need that program of study on file because that's going to tell us this is your plan to graduate with a master's degree. And then we're going to see in 2 years, hopefully, or 3, maybe 7, but we're hoping 2 or 3, that you show that you have these courses, and we're going to say, okay, now you can graduate. You've completed these courses and you've completed your terminal. So that's the program of study. Programs of study, like like in undergrad, there can be course substitutions, but again, they tend to be a little bit less flexible than in undergraduate. So you really should be taking the curriculum directly off your program of study in that order to most efficiently move through the program. Some of the things to pay attention to are concentrations. For instance, in business, if you've taken undergraduate courses in a certain major, they want you to concentrate in a different area in your graduate degree. So just be aware in your programs if there are concentration requirements where you've already sort of concentrated in undergrad and taken some of the 500 level courses that are 5,000 level now at our institution. And they don't want to see overlap, so they want you to concentrate in a different area. Okay. Leaves of absence and time limitations. So going back to the fact that sometimes people take 3, 5, 7 years, etc., life happens, right? And so we have different procedures and protocols if life intervenes. The first one is this. You have a grace period. So if you are admitted, for instance, to the program and you need 1 semester off because life happened, you have a grace period to just come back then. But you do want to notify your program, you notify your program coordinator and chair and tell them, I need to take this semester off. And when we talk about that, we're usually talking about either the fall or spring in most programs, but in some programs it's year round, so summer is relevant too. But usually that's for most programs for sure. Fall and spring, I need to take a semester off. And you don't need to say why, it's just you have a grace period, you need to take that time off. But programs have to plan too. And part of the issue that happens with one semester grace periods is you're often sequence. So programs have these sequences in terms of what they offer, and because of that, sometimes you can get out of sequence, and so there's got to be some management there. And as long as you understand that, as long as we know that, we can deal with that. The next idea, though, after the grace period is if it's longer, you need to be reactivated. So if it's 2 semesters or longer, you're going to have to go through a process. It's not as intense as the original admissions process, but you do have to go through the program and be reactivated, because you're essentially your status lies dormant unless you're reactivated. And that goes through the program in my office when folks are reactivated after 2 semesters. The final piece is if folks take longer than 7 years to complete their program, and this does happen because what happens is folks leave, engage their professional life, do that for 5 to 7 years, and then decide they really do want to do their programs again. Then you have to go through a readmission process again. So that's the time limit issue, is that if 7 years after your original admission, you haven't graduated yet, you need to be readmitted to the program. Okay, I'm gonna go through all of it and just take all questions at the end. And but write your questions down if you have questions, and let me know at the end. GPA requirements. Graduate school, again, you're training to be professionals. So the GPA requirements are more intense than they are in undergraduate. You are expected to have a cumulative GPA of 3.0. If you don't, though, you're not kicked out or anything. You're put on probation if your GPA drops below a 3.0. Probationary status is saying, essentially, we're just watching out for you. We want to see you to get it back up. If in the next semester you have a cumulative, or your GPA in that semester and your next 12 credits is above 3.0, then you immediately go back off probation and back to regular status. Okay. If you're, you need to, but again, you need to have that cumulative GPA over 3.0 eventually as part of graduation. If your GPA drops below a 2.4, you can be put on what's called academic suspension or dismissal, which is meaning that you may be asked to take a semester or a year off because we're concerned that your GPA isn't what it needs to be in your training sequence. So that's the 2.4 marker for academic suspension or dismissal. I like to use the word suspension because it's a suspension, not a dismissal. It's only a dismissal for a period, and I think suspension is a better word for it, but it is sometimes labeled academic dismissal, which to me is a little too scary because you can come back after that hiatus. You can also appeal that if you're put in that circumstance. Okay. So we're here to help. When we always want to have those conversations to get folks back to where they need to be. So even those can be scary, we're still saying you may be on suspension, but we still want to work with you to get off suspension. You're on academic probation, but we still want to get, it's not a behavioral issue. You're not in trouble. We need to help you get to where you need to be in terms of GPA. Okay? So if during any of these processes or others, and many come up, there's you believe that you're aggrieved academically, there are appeal processes. So there is a hardship petition or a grade appeal. Grade appeal is narrowly defined as something where you think you didn't have you think you received an unfair grade. I'm going to tell you that unfair grade appeals need to have documentation and backup if you are thinking you can win the appeal. We generally trust instructors to give fair grades, and you really have to provide documentation that they are not doing so if you are to be believed. I'm just being frank about that. Appeals like that need to have strong documentation to overthrow an instructor's grade. The assumption is instructors are trying to do their best to give folks the best grade that they deserve. So those are grade appeals. Academic cards, yeah, go ahead, Veronica. Am I out of time?
You have 5 minutes. Also, Dr. Gatson will cover a lot of this during her little presentation as well.
Is that what she's saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I'm going over it just in order, the handbook, and Gloria, feel free to elaborate. So academic integrity, I'll just say that of the times where we've had to deal with the most problematic issues that are related between programs and their students are plagiarism cases, plagiarism and cheating, or falsification cases, or conduct issues, usually falling into 2 categories. Anger stuff or anger management, or sexual stuff that happens between graduate students and their students. So these are the big red flags. These are the ones that can really get you in trouble, and be very aware of these policies. The reason academic integrity comes up in terms of plagiarism is oftentimes folks are behind, or they feel stressed, or they feel like they can't do the project, and they'll panic and they'll borrow someone else's homework and copy from it, or they'll take something from online and copy from it, and don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And I also want to say, don't lend out verbatim copies of your own homework. Don't partake in that. I know you think, sometimes folks think they're supporting other students by doing that. You are not supporting them. You are potentially enabling them to copy your work. Please don't do it. Group work is a different thing. Just be aware of the academic integrity policies. So assistantships, which many or most of you in this conversation are on right now, are administered by our office. So I know that folks are, in some cases, are still waiting for their contracts. We are processing everything. Where if we've told the program they have an assistantship, you do have one. So even if you don't have yet a signed contract, it will get there. It will be for the full amount that you were promised, and expect that it will be there soon. I do want to share, and I think this is a great thing, is that scholarships, graduate scholarships, we had 8 or 9 awardees this year. In the past, we have only had 1 or 2 for the last 10 years to that program. We realized that there was about $70,000 that was laying dormant. That was a state donation. We're like, what the heck are we doing not spending this out? We immediately advertised it to programs. Some programs especially were active in getting folks' names in. And now we have 8 or 9 awardees. So I know you probably are all on this conversation, and congratulations to you for that as well. It is a working scholarship. So it's a lot like an assistantship. It's really almost like an extension of an assistantship, and involves 20 hours of work, but it also pays really well. And so both graduate scholarship and graduate assistantships are really great privileges for you all to have. Keep in mind that those are work for hire, and you need to be aware of what the program needs from you and what those work responsibilities are, so that the program is happy with what you're doing and you're happy with the program, and you maintain in good standing. Those GAs are offered in some cases yearly, and in some cases semester by semester, and it depends on program need. Okay, so if you got a yearly, and I know the scholarships have to be yearly, then great, you're set for the year as long as you follow through on all of that is in that contract. we have, and again, my office is the problem office. So if programs come to me and say, we do not believe that this TA or GA can any longer meet the terms of contract, I need you to cancel that contract. Sometimes we've had to terminate contract. We do not like to do that in any way, shape, or form. We do that because we feel we need to do that, but we want all of you guys to meet those expectations, and for those programs to be satisfied with that, and for people to get this really great opportunity to save a lot of money in their graduate education. So,
Ian?
yeah.
Your overtime.
I'm always overtime.
We'll keep.
Okay, so let me just do one more thing because it's important. So I'm gonna take these
it's
2
okay.
minutes.
I'll be under time, Ian.
Ah, there we go. We'll balance.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for donating your time back to me, Jerry. I'll be quick. The last thing is of course we work with folks at the end of their career, and sometimes this is very stressful because you're like, okay, I'm done with my program. What else do I need to do? And oh my gosh, there's still 5 steps you have to take outside of your program to graduate. I confess that I once had a very big problem in that whole process myself. I was getting my PhD and I did not realize I needed to have a minor requirement, or I thought I had met the requirement, and I did not. And so I had to go to my counterpart at the University of Minnesota, plead and beg with him to help me figure out how I'm still going to graduate. And he figured out a way to do it by rearranging my minor requirements to meet another minor, a more generalized minor than the one that I thought I was meeting. And so he did get me out that semester. So I know what it's like to deal with these last minute stresses at the end of graduation. So when you go to end, you need to keep in mind that you have to go through bureaucratic processes outside of your program in order to graduate. You have to go to the registrar and ask for a degree check by midterm. Okay, so in the semester you're graduating, you have to say, registrar, have I met all my requirements? And registrar comes back and tells you yes or no. And if they say no, then that, of course, then we have to work with that. If they say yes, you're good to go, we move on. But they're going to go back and tell you what you still need, if anything, and how much you need to still do. Then you actually apply for the master's degree. You have to say, I want a master's degree. Seems weird. It's like, of course I want a master's degree. That's why I've been doing this for the last 2 years. But no, you still have to say, apply. Yes, I want my master's degree. And then the registrar goes through a process of clearing with the program, the faculty on the program side, the program coordinators and chairs. Are they complete? And is all their paperwork in order? Okay. So that's a big, so make sure to do all that. And this applies to all graduate students. To some students, there's even more requirements in their terminal document processes, theses, etc. I'll say, publishable papers. There's various requirements. There's sometimes you have to constitute a thesis committee. Every program is different. How do you constitute your thesis committee? If you need to change your chair because you and your chair aren't getting along anymore, the program tells you how to do that. If you need to change a committee member, the program tells you to do that. That isn't from me. But you have to work those things out. You need to get approval to do human and animal research. You need to edit the documents and get them ready through your chair to submit to your thesis committee or your committee. You need to orally defend that document before the committee. And then after all of that is done, you still have more to do. Sorry to say. You still have to get that document to us. It has to be approved by us. And we have the library look at it and make sure it meets the library formatting requirements as well. After all of that is done, then the library will submit a letter of transmittal saying that you have transmitted a correct thesis document to us and it is ready to rock, and you are it's telling the registrar everything is in order on the terminal document. Once that's all true, then you can graduate. Now, walking in commencement is inevitably comes up where people are like, can I please still walk even though I'm not done? Okay. I only have 6 credits and I'm going to do them this summer. I only have this terminal document and it will be done in 2 weeks. Okay. People ask for that. I'm going to look to the programs. But we want the programs to be very confident that these folks are going to graduate before they walk in commencement, because we worry that people walk in commencement, they think they're done. If you walk in commencement, you're not done. You have celebrated your graduation. You have publicly declared your graduation, but you're only graduated when the registrar says you're graduated. And that is all of these processes that I just described to you. So just be aware, you got to do those end processes and then you're graduated. And then with that, I can conclude. Thanks for the extra time, Jerry.
Thank you, Ian. Awesome.
Okie dokie. So I'm just gonna grab this and go.
Yes, please.
I am Dr. Jerry Glover. I am the chair of the counseling program at Highlands, and I am co-chair with Dr. Gadsden, who will be speaking after me, of the Graduate Council. I originally came to New Mexico from northern Montana. I came down to Santa Fe, New Mexico to get my bachelor's degree at St. John's College. And then after different things, I tended to take time off in between each of my degrees. I got a second bachelor's from UNM in elementary education. I got a master's degree in counseling from App State in North Carolina. And I got my doctorate at North Texas in counseling again. So I'm a counselor through and through and through. Like I said, I'm from northern Montana. My dad's was from the Salish Flathead tribe, and my mom is a Minnesota farmer, or Norwegian farmer from eastern Montana. The Graduate Council, I'm just going to give just a little background. We operate and maintain that handbook that Dr. Williamson was just talking about. So whenever there's changes in policy, procedure that affects all graduate students, that comes through our council, and we work on making sure that people know what the rules are and what the procedures are for anything. Another thing that Graduate Council does during normal conditions is we work to make sure that graduate students are participating with the graduate day at the legislature to make sure that people know that Highlands has excellent graduate students and graduate programs. And we do other things as well, but those are important aspects of our council. Let's see here, what else was I going to tell you about? Graduate students at Highlands, we have a lot, and Dr. Williamson did mention that there's a lot of graduate students in the College of Arts and Sciences. And then we have many, many, many graduate students in our professional programs. And counseling is considered one of those professional programs. He also mentioned education, business, and social work. Our graduate students in those programs tend often to be on their second, third, or fourth career, tend to be non-traditional students. Many of those students in our professional programs attend Highlands from, and so I assume some of you guys are here listening today, attend Highlands from our centers in Farmington and Santa Fe and Rio Rancho, as well as our students who are on the campus in Las Vegas. Everybody's on the same footing right now. Everybody's attending from virtually. So it's an experience that those non-trad students have been having all along. And we do have graduate assistants who come from those professional programs. In our program in particular, our counseling program is graduate students only. And so we can't have any teaching assistants because you have to be at least a level above your students. And so our graduate assistants and those programs that we have for our graduate assistants tend to be professional graduate assistants. So they work in administrative type tasks and research, et cetera. One thing that we do have with the counseling program, again, under normal conditions, is at the Las Vegas campus, we have what we call our international closet, which we have materials that we can lend out to students who come to live on campus, because if you are living on campus when it is normal times, you know, you walk into a dormitory that is, or a room, a residence hall that has nothing. And so our international students who aren't able to bring a U-Haul often come with nothing. And so it's important for you guys to know that your fellow graduate students have access to that when the buildings are open, et cetera. So just know that for in the future, because this isn't going to last forever. The other thing I highly encourage you, and I'm glad you're all here, and I think it's wonderful to have such a huge population of graduate students at Highlands, is support each other. Support each other through, you know, the use of our services that we have. People come in, especially if you weren't a bachelor's level student here at Highlands, they come in as a graduate student and don't realize that all of the resources that we do have. Talk to your professors, talk to your fellow graduate students, and if you're thinking, hey, I really need to find this, why doesn't Highlands have it? It's very likely Highlands does have it. So talk to a graduate student who's partway through their program. I think that's really all that I wanted to share today. Again, welcome aboard. We really appreciate you being here. Very much appreciate also, and want to make a shout out to all those non-traditional graduate students who have come to attend this meeting today too. Make sure you get the resources that you need, and talk to us and talk to each other. You know, to make sure that you get what you need as far as services are concerned. So thank you, and I'm going to hand this off to Dr. Gadsden.
Thank you, Dr. Glover. Can you guys hear me? Perfect. Okay, so my name is Gloria Gadsden, and I actually come from New York City, born and bred in Manhattan, one of those rare breeds. And I made my way here in 2012. So I've been here for about 8 years. I am still getting acclimated to Las Vegas. I actually do live in town. Some of you have probably seen me walking my dog. Highlands has been a welcoming and warm community for me. I've really enjoyed my time here, and I just want to say before I do my spiel that one of the things we want you to come away from today with is understanding you have lots of resources on this campus that you can tap into for support, for help if you get into trouble. So, you know, write down some of these names, memorize our faces, even if it's virtually. And just remember that if you need help, that's why we're here. That's part of the reason why we're here. That's why you have a graduate coordinator, a department chair, graduate dean, a college dean. I mean, you have lots of people you can turn to help get you through your program. We do like it when our students actually finish. So our objective is to support you in any way we can so that you can graduate. It's good for you, but it's also good for us when you graduate. So we definitely want to make sure we're supportive. I'm actually going to reiterate some of the things that Dr. Williamson said. I'm going to share my screen also, if that's okay, and talk a little bit more, very briefly, about academic standing and the importance of academic standing, especially as it pertains to both your progress toward your degree and for your graduate assistantships for those of you who are lucky enough to receive those awards. So let's start with a definition. We kind of throw that term around. We throw that term around, and many of you may not know what that is. Someone might be unmuted. So what is academic standing? Academic standing we evaluate in two ways. We basically look at your academic performance every semester. Can one of the hosts just make sure everyone else is muted? Thank you. So one of the things we do is we look at your academic performance every single semester, and then we also look at your academic performance overall. So there's two measures with respect to that, and then we also make sure you're making progress toward your degree. So Dr. Ian kind of suggested that you might be here for 2 years, 3 years, maybe 7 years. We are trying to get you out of here in about 2 years, depending on your program, maybe 2.5, 3. We give you some extra time, but we do monitor whether or not you're making adequate progress toward the completion of your degree. So that's part of academic standing. To earn a master's degree at Highlands, you must have a grade point average of at least a 3.0 every semester. Well, I shouldn't say every semester, overall on a 4-point scale in your program of study. Any student whose cumulative grade point average drops below a 3.0 will automatically be placed on probation. And so Dr. Williamson did talk to you about that process. I will talk about that process a little bit more. Any student whose cumulative GPA falls below a 2.4 can be suspended or dismissed from the university. And I'll talk about what those terms mean in a moment also. And then the other way in which we evaluate you is we look at your progress per course. So if you have a grade of less than a C in any course, that grade will not count towards your degree. However, that grade will be averaged into your GPA. And so that's one of those ways in which we assess whether or not you're making adequate progress by looking at how you're performing per course, how you're performing every semester, and then how you're performing overall. Okay, so what happens if you do fall into that category called probation? Students who do not make satisfactory progress or who are having some trouble academically will be placed on probation. Basically, this means you're put on notice. It's kind of like probation the same way I teach criminal justice courses, so it's very much like the criminal justice system where you have basically some extra eyes monitoring your progress to make sure you're doing okay. You also have people reaching out to provide assistance if you need assistance to get back on your feet. We do allow you the next 12 credits to bring your GPA back up into good academic standing. So we give you a chance to get back on your feet by looking at the next 12 credits, and then you have that opportunity to clear your probationary status. Other conditions can be imposed by your academic program. So for example, when I had to place a student on probation recently, we did ask that that student retake the courses that she earned less than a C in. So there could be some other conditions imposed if you are put on probation. If you are unable to get off probation over the course of 2 semesters, you could be suspended. Usually suspension means that you have to take a leave from the university for a semester, for a year. That's usually decided by your program. And then there could also be additional conditions imposed. So again, when I had to place someone on suspension, we did ask for that person to come back with a thesis proposal, a completed thesis proposal, to make sure that person was making adequate progress toward the completion of their degree. Why do we care about this? Well, I did provide you with some definitions of academic integrity. Basically, academic integrity is a commitment to honesty, to ethics, to respect. And so we believe that any form of academic dishonesty defeats the mission of the university to develop the skills and knowledge of students. It's a disadvantage to the work and the grades of students who perform with integrity. It's considered unethical by society at large, and it thwarts the purpose of academic inquiry and scholarship, including the pursuit, preservation, and communication of knowledge. And so we do, at Highlands, we take academic integrity very seriously. And so if you are accused of violating the academic integrity policy, which you do have access to in the handbook, professors who suspect anyone of violating academic integrity policies should meet with the student privately, and we do encourage you to meet with those faculty members, and then they are to make a recommendation to the graduate coordinator and or the department chair and or the graduate dean. If you feel, and I believe Dr. Williamson addressed this, if you feel like you have been unjustly accused or if you feel like the punishment is too severe with respect to these violations, you can meet with the professor to try to discuss it. You can also meet with the grad coordinator to try to discuss it, but if the matter cannot be resolved, you do have some recourse. You can work with the graduate dean to try to resolve the issues. And worst case scenario, we do have a body called the Academic Affairs Committee that do listen to appeals pertaining to violations of academic integrity. Excuse me. Now, why should you care about this if you have a graduate assistantship? Because students who are not making adequate progress in their coursework or in their program of study can have their graduate assistantship terminated. Additionally, if you are charged with academic dishonesty, you can have your graduate assistantship terminated. And the reason you should be particularly concerned about this is that if your graduate assistantship is terminated for just cause, you could be responsible for reimbursing the university. So not only will you lose your scholarship or lose your funding, you might have to pay it back if in fact you have been unable to progress satisfactorily, or if you have been accused of academic dishonesty. So certainly things you want to keep in mind as you move through the program. I stand for questions. And of course, this is not to scare you. Again, as I started off by saying, it is our objective to make sure you actually complete your degree successfully. It's good for you, and it's also good for us. So we're here to actually help, not hurt. But I do want you to be aware of these policies so that you don't have any mishaps along the way. I did see something in the chat box. Okay, so no one has any questions. I will stay online for a while if you have any questions later on. And I'm done, Veronica.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Gadsden. Okay, so we have about 9 minutes before our next speaker. 8 minutes now. So if you want to get up really quickly, go get you some water, just stretch a little, shake it off a little. If you need to listen to some Taylor Swift really quick to get your energy up, please do so. And we'll come back because I don't believe our next presenter is here yet. So please take a couple minutes, and we'll see you back here in about 5 minutes, okay? Okay, shake it off. I don't have any music queued up, so, and I'm not gonna sing for you, so go get you some water.
Hi, Dr. Ian.
Hi. How are you?
It's good to see you again.
Yeah, who is this? I can't see you on the screen.
Mercy. It's Mercy. I was the graduate
Oh.
assistant.
Yeah, welcome back. Are you in English?
No, the education department.
Okay. Are you getting an alternative teacher license?
No.
No.
I am not a citizen, so I cannot obtain that. Even if I obtain it, I cannot use it until I become one.
So what is your program? What POs are you?
Education and leadership.
Cool. Well,
So
welcome back. It's good to have you back.
Thank you, sir. I wish I was back on campus.
Yes, stop by. Stop by when you can.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Welcome, April. The group's taking a short break, but should be back in a couple minutes.
Okay, sounds good. Just let me know when you want me to go, and make sure you tell me to end when it's time. I don't want to get behind.
Sure. Veronica will take over when she's back. So yeah, do you have something to share? You can.
I have a flyer, so if can I share my screen?
I don't know. Leon, do you have the power to stop Veronica sharing?
I'm back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll pass the baton over to April.
Dr. Williamson, I have Baruch. I think he has a question, he has a question. So he asks, Dr. Williamson, the form I received to transfer credits indicated only 6 credits could be transferred. You seem to indicate it could be more.
That is correct. So that has changed to 25% of the program. So up to 25% per program discretion. So it is possible that it's more.
And we have another question, which is, what if you decide that the assistantship is too much?
You should communicate with the graduate program coordinator or chair, depending on who handles it in your department. Usually it's the program coordinator that it is for you, and to either make an adjustment to go down in hours, or to cancel it so that they can give it to someone else who wants the work. People will want this. So if you can't do it anymore, let people know, because then it can go out to others. It's happened before. We've had someone who didn't need it and decided they didn't. I mean, it does happen, and just go to your advisor and coordinator and just give it back, essentially. Give it back to the institution.
Thank you.
Cool.
Awesome. April, great to see you. Happy Friday. We've got about 2 more minutes before your session gets started. Thank you so much for those questions in chat. And thank you, Dr. Williamson, for being able to answering those. So thank you. It's going to be kind of like this. This is kind of the process today. So throw out your ideas as sparks happen, and ideas, and we'll get to them. We'll circle around as we get them. April, do you have the option to share screens? Is that something that you would need to do? Do I need to make you a co-host or anything?
I have the option to do that, so I'm going to go ahead and do that whenever we're ready.
Okay, we got about another minute. So, and I don't want to get started until everyone's back, even though I asked everyone.
Oh, of course not.
I always give wiggle room. I like wiggle room.
Me too.
Okay, awesome. How is the library doing this first full week of classes?
Oh, it's going pretty well. I think we've gotten a lot more chance to actually be librarians. It seems like to help people find the information they need, which is always good. And see where some glitches might need to be worked out.
Awesome, very cool. Well, awesome. If you want to go ahead and and share your screen so we can get a sense of that document. I did see that you posted it in the chat as well, so everyone has that information at their fingertips. Yeah, go ahead. Let's share some screens.
Okay, well, just first, my name is Abe Kent. I recognize names. I am the librarian of public service at Donnelly Library, and you might be able to tell from my background, I am currently working mostly remotely, and that is true for most library services. We're in this challenging time, most libraries are working mostly in the online format, and we find we can provide a lot of information, a lot of guidance electronically, and for those that need to be done in print or in a physical format, a lot of that we're going to do on a case-by-case basis. So one thing I always want you all to take away from this is let us know what your information needs are, and we'll talk about how we can best meet them, because we might have to be a little flexible, a little reactive with all the challenges of fall 2020. So I'm going to share the flyer that is adapted from what I presented to all the new faculty. So simple Word document, which is also in the chat you can download, and Veronica will have put this on the website. So this is just something that you can have to save and access in the future. So here we have the direct link to how you can get to the site of the university library. There are many different links all over the university's page in Brightspace, but sometimes people have a hard time finding it, so we do have a shortcut. The library staff for the most part is working remotely, and currently the library building is closed, but we are checking the main the main reference desk email, and we're checking the main voicemail remotely. So sometimes there might be a slight delay, but we will get back to you. And we have a virtual reference desk on Zoom, where there will be a live library professional on duty all the hours that the building would have been open if we were not in a global pandemic. So those are just a few things for contacting us. And again, I and my colleagues just really want to emphasize, and we'll probably say it 3 times during my 15 minutes, that if you have a question, please do ask us. And we can't always get you absolutely everything, but we will try, and we've been able to come up with some pretty good solutions. I do have one question in chat, and I'll try to keep an eye on this. Physical interlibrary loans. We are processing returns of physical interlibrary loans. April Ortega, my colleague who runs interlibrary loan, has been receiving them, processing them on our end. And for those libraries that we partner with who are accepting physical books back, we are sending them. For those who are still in a totally closed campus or closed library, we are holding on to that material. So I can give you her information. It's usually best to talk to her, or I'm happy to pass on any information. All right, I will keep an eye on the chat, but as we go along, just a few things to let you know. I know this is the graduate assistants, graduate student in general orientation. Some of you teach, some of you don't, but we do offer, for those of you who are teaching or are working with groups where this might benefit, we're happy to give library instruction sessions or library workshops upon request. I'm the main contact for that, and all librarians will do that. Part of this is also
April, sorry. It's Marcy. So your screen isn't sharing clearly. If you want to try and share it again, please.
Will do.
Thank you.
Let me just share the one application. Maybe that will work out better.
It's still fuzzy.
Still really fuzzy. Okay, so it says the video thumbnails are minimized to optimize full screen sharing. And I seem to remember
we ran into some issues the other day in class, and when people were presenting, they could actually reduce the bandwidth they were using by turning off their video, their personal video. That might work.
Yeah,
okay.
April, go ahead and mute your video, April, then try and share it again.
So I just turned off my video so you can see a picture of one of my academic support dogs. And let's see, does it look a bit better now?
No. April, actually, I think I'm going to suggest that Veronica, since you could download it, or Leon, you can download it, and then you share, because you guys are coming from university, like maybe at an address that's working better.
I'll try that right now.
And if not, I can talk about it. You guys can download it on your own. There's going to be a lot of
yeah.
If
you want to keep presenting, April, go ahead.
Yeah, you could just keep going, April.
Okay, sure. Well, as you go ahead, you'll have this video. But anyway, library will do instruction videos, and we work through some of the technical difficulties, but we're to Zoom live, Zoom recorded, come up with a standalone video, anything library that you think might benefit a class that you are teaching as a library, a class that you are doing as a graduate assistant, or it could be for a group you're working with. So there's a little note about that. And it could be on general library services, or it can be about something very specific like APA formatting, how to find legal citations. Let us know what information you need to get there. Next on the flyer, as you can see here, and maybe you see it smaller, I think hopefully it's pretty clear. The remote library information desk. For the foreseeable future, the physical library is closed, But we do have a remote information desk where we can do a Zoom video, and we've all been in Zoom constantly. So you know there's a lot that can be done in terms of screen sharing and everything like that. So we will have that. We're also there available, all the library staff by appointment, by Zoom, and the link is the main number that you usually call for the library, and we have a link provided there. The hours would be the same that the library be open, including we will go to expanded hours if we when we get closer to exams, and shorter hours during the break. Also, for those of you who are teaching or who are taking classes, for that matter, we still have electronic reserves. Physical reserves are not an option. A lot of things, unfortunately, like textbook paper does tend to retain the virus a little bit longer, but electronically, we do have reserves as we've been doing. If you need to put a book chapter, an article on reserve, reach out to us. The library collections, we are putting, of course, the main focus on the physical, the electronic collection over the physical. And if I have enough time or we have questions, we do have a lot of streaming video content, especially in terms of documentaries and things that are in need for curricular support. And I can show you how to find them. And many articles and book chapters are available that way. We also have allocated a bit more money towards electronic books. So if there is a book that you need, and we are doing physical checkout on a one-on-one basis, but electronic books can also be a very good way of providing that service. Getting to interlibrary loan, a lot of it is going to be based on what our peer libraries are. So for those of you who haven't used interlibrary loan, we do borrow books, articles, DVDs, and other materials from libraries nationwide, actually somewhat internationally. Right now, a lot of libraries, when they are reducing services or having to close physical collections, are reducing interlibrary loan. But almost since the beginning of the shutdown in the country, we have been able to get a lot of materials, especially journal articles, electronically. So my suggestion is always put in the request and we'll work with you as best we can. Physical books are becoming a little more challenging, and I know this is very discipline specific, but once again, we have been able to work some things out. Since we're on Zoom, I know a lot of our graduate assistants are based here at the main campus, but there are some at centers, or you might be serving students, supporting students and faculty at our center locations. My colleague Kevin Corcoran is the main contact person for that. So if you have any specific concern about how things are being managed online, please do contact him. His information is here. You have a copy of this. And for those of you who are getting towards the end of your master's program and you're in a thesis option, before you get too far along, please do reach out to Josephine Senna. She is the one who sends out all the theses for binding. She also makes sure that everything is properly formatted, and she has been working with people, advisors as well as graduate students, electronically to make sure everything is there. So it works out very well. So Josephine is the one there. And I did touch on with the library instruction that we are creating tutorials, whether it's for a specific class, for a specific product in the library, or for whatever you might need. Please let us know what we can do to help you, including troubleshooting a few things during this time. So I'm going to pause and see if there are any questions people have had for library services, things that have come up in the week and a half we've had so far.
So I am in, hi, April. My name is Mercy. I am in Chicago. So is it possible to get a book from the library? Like, can I order a book from the library so it gets delivered to me?
Yes. So we have been mailing some books out. One thing I will say during this, during these times is always to build in a little bit of extra time and to be flexible. But if you have a request for books to be sent to you, we will be able to accomplish some of that. We also will probably look at what are some of the options that are available to you locally. So sometimes we'll do some troubleshooting depending on where exactly you are. Sometimes local libraries might be open, and a lot of libraries will extend library privileges to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions or requests for the library?
I just want to say definitely use the interlibrary loan for articles. I mean, I've been able to get any article I've wanted or needed, and it's better than I've sometimes used much bigger university systems, and this library gets them to faster than that. So really appreciate that, and use it.
Yes, so our interlibrary loan service, especially for articles, has been going very well. And so since I have a couple of minutes, and again, if there's any questions, please chime in. I'm going to try to share, and we'll see if this does work a little bit more okay with using the web. So how does it look now? Is it fuzzy?
It's still a little
But
fuzzy.
we can still see some things.
Okay, so it might be kind of an impressionistic blur, but just to give you a quick idea of what everything, where to go, is there are library links. You can also just use Google or use this much improved search engine to put in library. But we are accessible through the NMHU portal, the new portal that we have. And you'll see of all the different apps that are here, one is for libraries, and that will take you into our page. So what we have here, and again, I appreciate it's a little blurry, but we here have at the top, we do have our virtual reference desk, which you can click to launch our Zoom. We have our continuity plan, which might have any changes we have in terms of when we can be physically open, how we're providing other services, because in-person support physically is not really available or on a very limited basis at this time, but we do have a lot of electronic services. So that's kind of the additional information we have up there. Below that, we do have our databases as we've offered. So for those of you who are new, welcome. I'm happy to spend some time one-on-one with anybody who might have questions about what we have to offer. But we do have a lot immediately available through our subscriptions. We also do have a lot that's available. We can link you to reliable, open educational resources. And as Dr. Williamson said, we also do have partnerships with libraries nationwide. So if you have an article, we can get it for you through our interlibrary loan. I always like to stress to everybody here, but to all students, is sometimes you're looking around, you're Googling, and you find the perfect article and you hit a paywall. Don't pay for articles as a graduate student or as a faculty member. That's why you have university libraries. You hit that paywall. If you have the citation for the article that you need, let us know. We will, if we have it in our collection, we can make sure you get it immediately. And if it's interlibrary loan, and I think Dr. Gadsden, Dr. Williamson, Veronica, everybody here can tell you, we have a pretty quick turnaround. Now, as with everything in 2020, it might take a slightly longer time, but especially for electronic resources, it goes very quickly. I also want to note for those of you who are new here for interlibrary loan that you do need to sign up for your own account. The sign-in service for this, and I know this is going to be blurry, it's a service we have called Iliad, and it is kept separate from your other Highlands logins. So if you're a first-time user, you have to click on first-time user. You'll get a page of mostly our policies. Then there'll be a form, might take you about 5 minutes to fill out. And after that, every time you need to request something, you can log on here. Those of you who have maybe not done as much over the summer, you forgot your password, click on forgot password, and you can reset it. And did I have a question?
Yes, April. So Melina said, I was told I can't use interlibrary loans for physical items because of COVID-19 from the NMHU library.
Yes, so it's very limited, and I'd say that's the blanket statement you're going to get. If everything is, of course, developing, like right now in the state, a few restrictions have been relaxed, but I would recommend if you have a need for physical items like the books from our collection, you can go ahead and contact the library and see if anything's changed or if there's some kind of workaround we can get. But right now, most things for interlibrary loan are electronic. Other questions? So interlibrary loan, again, is limited. We're hoping if things continue on an upswing, that maybe we can open it up later in the term. We're always happy to work through everything and see how we can go ahead and do that. We have been able to make a few ebook purchases recently on faculty request to get electronic books that are immediately not accessible. And we've been able to talk to some of our peers. So that is one thing we're gonna have to continue to kind of work at. So pandemics are very disruptive, but they're often our workarounds. So back to the somewhat blurry web page. The main site will take you to, again, the libraries page, we will have all this additional information. And one thing that might be more important, especially if you used our DVD collection, is we do have a lot of streaming video content. We do have it available through all of our streaming databases. And if you go to databases by subject, most of the subject areas there are going to be based on your area of study, but there is one here that is titled videos. It's an alphabetical list, take my word for it. And here there'll be a lot of the streaming content, some of it that's going to be specific to your field. If you're in counseling or social work and some psychology, we do have Psychotherapy Network, which does have a lot of different counseling sessions that are captured. But of more general interest, we do have Canopy, which is sort of what's called often the Netflix for institutions, and it has a lot of different videos, a lot of things that are award winners, documentaries, independent films, and it's available to you 24/7. You also can set it up to go to your Roku, your Apple TV, a lot of other devices. So this is a relatively recent acquisition, and it also is something that is here for you as a student and as an educator, where it does make it easy for you to embed clips or embed videos into Brightspace or to share with others. So that's one thing we do like to highlight, as it is something that's comparatively new. Another thing that you might not have used as much in terms of books, and I know I'm heading towards the end, I don't want to cut into anybody else's time, but if you are looking for electronic books that we subscribe to as a university, we do have a way of you going directly to them. If you go into Find Reference Resources, there are the EBSCO ebook collection, and we do have tens of thousands of electronic books, which might meet your needs for a lot of different purposes. So you can search here, and just like you would in a catalog, you can search by title, you can search by author, content, and more. So there is a host of material we can offer to you online. The physical things are going to be challenging. I know some people have to get into our archives. A lot of that, reach out to us, and we'll work with you to the best of our abilities on a case-by-case basis. So I know it's a very quick overview. I know you always have a lot of content thrown at you, but I just wanted to make sure the library had a chance to say hello. We're here for you during this time. You have the contact information. You need something, please reach out.
April, there's one more question from Robert.
Oh, Leon, we need to get to the next session. So April, if you don't mind, maybe answering that question in the chat for us. Thank you, Leon. But I want to be mindful of our timing. I think Cathryn is next on our roundtable. So with that, thank you, April. Thank you so much. And Cathryn, I see you. All right,
Hey.
Are you ready?
I am. Hello, everybody. I'm Cathryn Brooks-Williams. I am your Graduate Affairs Coordinator. So most of your paperwork comes through me. And just to give a highlight, I've been with Highlands since 2002 when I moved here to complete my bachelor's. I got my master's here. I've worked here as a teacher, as an instructional designer, and now as your Graduate Affairs Coordinator. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, what I'm going to talk to you about today is the one thing that I've been designing to help students follow the path that they need to do, okay? We're calling it Graduate Bridges to Success, and basically every school is going to have a different look. This is the module that I'm building right now. I've been working on this since about the end of January, first part of February. And basically what it does is it takes you through step by step the process you need for graduation, from admissions to graduation, your mind, basically. So we've started building this, and we have information like to welcome you, how to get your student ID, what it is, and that you need to have that every transaction that you have with just about every office on campus, okay? Also how to get your photo ID if it's necessary. Also Highlands email. I get a lot of graduate students who email me through their personal, and then they get mad because I don't check my junk mail that day or my spam box, because that's where if you use your personal email from a different site other than Highlands, it goes into automatically. For some reason, I don't know, okay? So if you use your Highlands email, you'll get a response from me, usually the same day, except during peak periods. We talk about different types of course delivery so that you understand what you're signing up for. And then if you need to access either the graduate catalog or the handbook, these are clickable links for you. We also have, if you're not familiar with Brightspace tutorials, okay, we have a module here that will take you through it step by step by step. And it usually looks like this, okay? When it pops up, sometimes it's a little slow. It looks like this. It will take you through all the different types of Brightspace elements that you may be using as a student, a graduate student. I'm going through this quickly because I know we just have very limited time. Then we go from there to the stepping stones. So this is a tutorial on how to find your course schedule, how to register for classes. We also have, if you're a provisional student, we have registration for provisional students. It takes a little bit of a different step. Just because you have a provisional hold does not prevent you from registering for classes. You just have to take an extra step. There's also registration for international students. I'm collaborating with Tina Clayton, our Director of International Education. There's how to use your degree audit. There's videos, okay? And then we also have a word about your incompletes and what that is needed. When I am done, I'm hoping to have checklists for you guys. I'm still in the process of building this. So we also have from the business office, they have provided 2 videos plus information, where to go, and then technical resources. So because of April, I'm going to have to update my technical resources for the library. And then basic information that you may need is also listed here. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make this as friendly as possible and also to help you as graduate students. Some of the biggest things you're going to be running across are the documents. So we have a list by semester of what documents that need to be completed. And this is where the checklists are going to come in so that every student can check off this document was sent in, this document was sent in, and that document was sent in. So like you need to start in the 2nd semester developing your graduation and exit requirements and defining your committee for your comprehensive and oral exam defense. So this will take you through this step by step each semester. Who to contact will be listed and how to contact them. So we also have this big one here. If you've been admitted and if you've moved from provisional to regular admission, or if you've been admitted regularly, this is where the checklist will be. And I'm looking for student feedback. So if this is confusing to you and you can't follow this, please let me know. We'll take you through it step by step. I'm willing to do Zoom meetings starting next week. One of the other things that we've got going on is some suggestions for success. So if I see anything that looks like it's helpful for graduate students, having been one myself, I will be putting it here. So that you can see this on the left-hand side. So we're working on different modules for you guys. This one is about scholarships. We're going to put information here for the graduate scholarship and also the graduate assistantship and other available scholarships. We'll be putting it down below here so that you can click on these links and go right away where you need to go. For the Navajo Nation, this is specific for the Navajo Nation students. They actually, because of COVID, extended their applications for financial aid up to November 25th. But I'm going to tell you right now, please don't wait. Get that taken care of now. If you need a letter from the graduate office saying that you're in good standing, you send it to me. Normally I can do a one-day turnaround, but right at the beginning of school, I need at least a week. We also have your graduation everything you need for graduation requirements, okay? So we have degree checks, where you need to go. We also have your application for degree. We have all the things that you need to go through graduation. And this is pretty much what everybody's been discussing today. And I apologize for going fast. I don't know how much time I have exactly.
Cathryn, Cathryn, it's Veronica. You have 5 minutes, but because April spent some of her time answering some of the questions, we'll give some little wiggle room. All right,
okay.
So maybe about another 7-8 minutes.
Thank you, thank you. So one of the things that we need, this will not be completed until spring 21. Please give me some time. It takes a little bit of time to build all this, okay? So if I can get here, every college and every school will have their own Graduate Bridges to Success. And we're going to clone this over, but I have to meet with all the school, every one of the schools, including the college, to find out what they need in each one of theirs. So the way this is going to work is that students are going to be funneled directly into their college or their school for this. So you're not fighting with each other trying to find one thing. We're also going to put in a discussion board where you can answer each other's questions or ask me questions or the graduate program coordinators questions. So as you can see, we've got this for everybody. And like I said, I haven't finished building this portion yet. So we're going to get that started in the next couple weeks. Are there any, I can't see without stopping. I can't see the chat. So are there any questions?
Yes, so there's one right now. Can you please send the link to this program, or is it currently on Brightspace?
It is going to be built in Brightspace. Right now, it's considered a sandbox. When I get done, hopefully before spring 2021 starts, every student will be automatically be able to go there. And what I mean by that is that, you know, if you're on Brightspace, you have all your classes listed. So you're going to be able to go click right into the one that you're in and it'll take you there. And then you can get the information. This information will be available to you 24/7, unless of course Brightspace is down or we have no internet. But it'll be available to you 24/7 so that you can go get this information. You can, if you don't remember something, you can go back in here at any time and it'll be at the top of your Brightspace classes. Other questions?
Cathryn, just for clarification, so this is technically a sandbox. It's being built and it'll be available to the students by spring 2021?
Yes.
I just had a question as far as if we were undergraduate students and have an undergraduate ID from Highlands, are we supposed to get a different ID
No.
as graduate students now? Okay, great.
No, I'm still using the same one I had as an undergraduate as my employee ID. So it stays with you forever. Any other questions?
So I just want to comment that, you know, you can get these documents online and online documents. The problem is that online documents has so many other documents as well, including old documents that are no longer relevant. So what we're looking at is this going to be a real nice avenue for convenience. And thanks a lot, Cathryn, for putting this together.
You're welcome. And now I'm going to turn the floor over to the next person.
Awesome. Actually, the next person is our lunch break.
Yay.
So thank you so much, Cathryn. And so we are, let's see if there are any questions in the chat. I know there was some stuff going on. Leon, was there anything that we missed?
I think everything that we covered was brought up. If anything wasn't covered and you all have any outstanding questions, if you could either put it in chat or you could unmute yourself, that would be awesome.
Yeah, we'll take a couple of seconds to do that.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, how are you? Actually, this is Noor from Jordan. I'm a first-year master student. and I just want to ask about something. If we have a recording video or a recording meeting like this, where can I find it in the library and how? Thank you.
So Veronica, what's your plan for the recorded video? Are you going to circulate it to this group, the group that heard the announcement in the first place?
Yeah, so this training, this orientation is being recorded and will be made available through the Center for Teaching Excellence website, and it will also go out as a global to those that are here attending. It has been, the link to the webpage has been dropped in our chat. You can just kind of scroll through and I'm sure you'll find it. But also we'll follow up with an email. So you'll get all of the source materials that, that presenters have shared with me and this recording. So you'll get both of those things.
So Dr. Williamson, a quick question. For the onboarding process for a new graduate assistantship, we have to include a new statement of account from their banks. Is that necessary?
Actually, Cathryn would know better. I assume that's for direct deposit, and that the reason that it may be required, I don't know if it is because we don't want folks in person during COVID, so that we would want it to be routed directly to their bank. But Cathryn, do you know more?
Yeah, because of COVID, they would prefer a direct deposit.
And so what they need is the routing proposals and the bank information, which is the same information as what's on a check, is what they need to route it directly to folks' bank biweekly, so that there isn't in-person transactions.
So this individual says that they currently have a direct deposit set up at Highlands, but they're asking to get a new one. Do you think that would be more of an HR question?
It is an HR question. To me, they should, if they have the information already, I think it's fair for the student to simply request that HR access its own information. I'll just say that. And I think it's an HR issue. It isn't handled by our office. It is handled by the HR office. If they continue to see problems, we can work as advocates here, but hopefully they can take care of it directly with HR.
If you have to leave early.
Dr. Williamson, what is the state of the graduate assistantship now, since some courses are being taken online and some international students like myself are not in the US due to COVID-19 restrictions?
That's an international office issue, but I can share with you that my understanding is the big issue there is if we have a social security number for that person. So if we have a social security number for that person and that's on file, then we can continue to employ them. It doesn't matter to me that they're not physically located here. The problem is if they can't get that social security card because they can't do business in the US, then they can't be paid. So that's the issue that they face, as I understand it procedurally. Again, there's more knowledge there in the international office than in my office, but there's no restriction coming from the graduate office. It's all because of international requirements.
Okay, another question, Ian. I've already paid and have not received a TA contract yet. Will I be reimbursed?
You will be getting your full contract amount. You will get paid for the full amount. And we're trying to get as many done so that people are paid as early as possible on that amount. If they're paid a week or two later, the amount they're getting paid proportionally is the number divided by a different number because they're paid fewer times throughout the semester, but they will be paid the same amount through the semester and they will be paid their full contract amount.
Do we have to reapply yearly for the graduate scholarship if we are already awarded it yearly?
Yes. That is a yearly award. It's not for the life of your time here. it's awarded each year. And some of the assistantships are awarded semester by semester, and some of the assistantships are year by year. None of them are 2-year contracts. So you always have to work with your program on that. And I assume that again, you work with your program and say, I'd like to apply again. Your program says, sounds good, we'll support you. So what you're always looking for all of this stuff is we're kind of largely a bureaucracy. If your program is telling us we want to fund this, what I'm doing is seeing if we have the money. Like, I'll say this to Cathryn all the time. How many slots do we have? Let's make sure we fill them all. We want to fund everything out. But the programs are the ones who are going to support you given your performance. Are you working hard? Are you staying in good standing with your programs? If they like what you're doing, they're going to keep supporting you for these assistantships and these scholarships. And they're going to come to my office and I'm going to say, is the slot there? Cathryn will say yes, and I'm going to approve it.
So a couple more questions, Ian. Currently, I am being charged as an out-of-state graduate student. My first payment for the school is due on September 1st. However, I have not received my contract for my TA-ship. I would rather not take out a loan if I can avoid it. I have tried contacting the business office, but have not received anything back.
I didn't catch the first part of that. Can you reread it?
Yes. Currently, I'm being charged as an out-of-state graduate student. My first payment for school is due on September 1st. However, I have not received my contract for my TA-ship. I would rather not take out a loan if I can avoid it. And I have tried contacting the business office, but have not received anything back.
This came up in graduate council today. So get in touch with Cathryn on this. Cathryn, these are urgent. These are urgent ones because we know that you should have in-state tuition. We will make if the payment is due, we have the names over there to say do not disenroll these students. Okay. If you still get disenrolled, because it can happen, please notify us and we will undisenroll you. We will re-enroll you immediately. And we also will make sure that the business understands that you have an assistantship and you will be getting in-state tuition therewith, and that this is just on our side. So ideally, this wouldn't create as much stress as it is, and it would have already been resolved. Unfortunately, I know in reality, I know what it must feel like on your side, like, oh my God. But what I'm saying is don't take out a loan. If you're disenrolled, we will re-enroll you and we will make sure you get in-state tuition.
And just one other note, I am working until I get them all done today. So if it means staying until 8 or 9 o'clock to get them done, that's what I'm doing.
So Ian,
but we're aware of the issue. We're trying to take care of it on our side. And unfortunately, there may be a disenrollment, but please do not panic. We will re-enroll you. You are still a student at Highlands and you are a student with an assistantship, and we know that. Okay.
Highlands got you.
We got you, but there might be it's like, I don't know, maybe you guys remember Y2K, maybe you don't. It's like all of a sudden everyone thought everything would break down and stuff like that. There may be some glitches, but we will work those out and we see them on our side.
Excellent. Liam, was there anything else?
I believe there's one more. Can we have, let's see, sorry, give me 1 second. Everything's okay. I've received my contract for my GA-ship and signed it. However, I've not received payment personally or for my classes. Is there a time period I should be looking for this?
I think someone threw out September 3rd. Cathryn, I believe that was you. Is that the date?
That's the date for disenrollment.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, never mind.
The first paycheck comes out on September 4th, I believe.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
So you will not have been paid yet.
Okay.
And some folks, I wish they were all being paid on September 4th. You will not all get your first paycheck on September 4th, is my understanding. Some of you will be paid on the 18th as your first paycheck, and it has to do about processing order. Some of the contracts we received are only this semester. And I guess I heard today in council, there were problems in processing for even folks who were sent over in the summer from our office. We sent about half, we sent 50 to 60% of the contracts over this summer. We assumed they were already processed and ready to go. We unfortunately were wrong about that. We will have folks paid by September 18th. We will try to have as many as possible paid by September 4th.
So I think one more question before we break.
Okay.
Hi, I've received my contract, but was told not to send back right away. When shall I send it back?
No, send it back right away. Whoever told you that lied to you. I don't know. I mean, I don't know about what happened there, but I can tell you that no, you want to get this to us. Absolutely.
Yes. Excellent. Well,
if
okay.
you have any outstanding questions, when we come back, please put them in the chat box and we'll address those questions.
Thank you so much, Leon. I was just about to say that. It's like we are reading my mind.
Thank you all for those questions.
Yeah, those were excellent questions, and thank you for that feedback. So let's break for 20 minutes and be back here at noon so that we can complete our last couple of presentations. Ian, did you want to say something?
I was just going to answer. I see Brianna's question. Brianna, that is correct. GAs do not submit timesheets. They work with their programs. They don't have timesheets.
Oh. You know, that was a question I had too. So look at us learning. Excellent. Okay, so, all right, hands in. We're going to break. We'll see you back here at noon. Have
work
a good
studies
one,
do. So if you're on a work study, you can be a graduate student on a work study, and you do need to submit a timesheet. So know the difference between those statuses.
Excellent.
Someone on assistant and scholarship does not submit.
See you back here at noon. Bye.
So Veronica, can you stop recording, or do you want to do another link?
I'm gonna all right. I hope everyone had a good break. Got some food. I saw that Dr. Gatson recommended some eat some fruit, get some of the natural sugar in you. So I hope you had enough time to shake it off, right? Let's see. All right. So not everyone, it looks like, is quite back yet, but it is 12. So I know that there was some things that Dr. Williamson and Cathryn wanted to kind of touch base really quick. So I'm going to let them have the floor while we let people back in, and before we get to the next presentation. So Dr. Williamson, Cathryn, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'll go first. So I just wanted to let people know that some of you may be needing to come to campus and for work duties, especially GAs who do research or lab work. And just to make sure everyone understands that process, I think a number of you have already engaged this process, so you don't need to know, but the way that this works is there is a request to be here form. It's an emergency core personnel request form. And what you need to do is work with whoever your supervisor is on your contract to request to be here physically if you need to be here physically. And it has to basically be a requirement based on needing, I mean, there's a pretty strict standard. Like, you have to be maintaining equipment. There has to be lab work that you can't do if you weren't here, and just so that you understand that. But and then once you get approved, if you do get approved. So your supervisor submits it to the dean, who submits it to the safety officer. Safety officer takes an action with committee sometimes, or sometimes if it's straightforward, the safety officer acts without committee. Then communicates all that back to everyone. You still have to apply every day, or you have to go through the process of every day if you're going to be on campus, of doing the screening application, which is sent to your email. So there's 8 or 9 questions, like, have you been exposed? Do you have a fever? Stuff like that. And then if you answer all of those questions in a way that sounds like you're fine, that you aren't at risk, then you can come to campus that day. So it's a daily screening as well. And then when you're here, you must, and you've probably already heard this maybe 10,000 times, and so sorry if I'm repeating the institution's line, but everyone should know this. When you're in public, you need to be wearing a face covering. And so if you're and by here, I mean anywhere on campus. It doesn't matter if it's Rio Rancho or Las Vegas campus or Farmington. It's the same. You have to be wearing a face covering if you're here. And so in public. So those are requirements, and I just wanted everyone to know that. And Cathryn.
Hi, Ian, thank you. Just a word about your contracts. If you haven't gotten a contract yet and you get one today, you need to sign it completely. That means on the left-hand side of the contract, you'll get some check or some box or lines that you have to initial. We're wanting you to read the contract. So you have to initial each section. And at the bottom, you also have to sign it and date it. If you don't, HR is going to kick it back to me, then I have to send it back to you. So they're not going to accept it. So in order to not delay that, go ahead and answer that. If you're having problems because you're on a different kind of mobile device and you're not able to sign the bottom of the contract where it says your signature date, email me right away. I can fix the contract so that you can sign it and send it back to me. Okay? That's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you, Cathryn. There is a question in the chat asking, can the screening be done for COVID over the phone? Or is it just the email thing now?
They might still be handling these manually, but we are wanting to get away from that because there's so many requests now. Well, there's so many that have to come. So it's staff, it's administrators. There's a variety of folks who have to come here and there. Mm-hmm. And so if you're approved, you should be on a list where that email goes directly to your email, and then you just answer those. And once you do, it says you're okay to come to campus. It gives you an automated message. But
you have to do that every day, right?
And you have to do that each day once you're approved. Any day you come to campus. You don't have to do it days you're not coming.
Okay, just the days that you're coming to campus.
You're coming to campus. So you can do it through security. It's just we're discouraging it because we don't want to burden the call center.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much, Ian. Thank you for the questions. Keep them coming. Okay, so the next thing I have on my agenda, and Cathryn, I know you were prominent in putting together the agenda. I have Ruth Miriam Polsky, the director of our compliance and Title IX coordinator, but I don't believe she has joined us yet. But I do see Latasha Burbank on from HU Cares. And so Latasha, if you would like to go with your presentation, we can just kind of change it up a bit if that works for you. Latasha, let me know.
Yes, sorry, I was trying to find the mute button today.
Oh, the unmute button, yes. Not a problem. Awesome. Okay. If you don't mind going, I'm going to turn the floor over to you. How does that sound?
That works.
Excellent.
Let me share my screen.
Thank you.
Quick. Alrighty. All right, so can everybody see the screen?
Yes, but your volume's a little down.
Okay, let me see if I can turn that up.
Thank you.
Okay, hopefully you can hear me now.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so welcome students. My name is Latasha Burbank. I'm an advocate for New Mexico Highlands University. I work for a program called CARES, or ICSU CARES. CARES stands for Center for Advocacy, Resources, Education, and Support. And so we support students who are in need of extra supports, whether that be academic or if they're going through a personal situation that is, of course, unforeseen. And so as advocates in our CARES team, we have Ruthie. Her name is Dr. Ruthie Watson. She is our director of CARES. And so she is the individual that you would be reaching out to for assistance at main campus. And so she would be your point person. She works on campus and she is right across from the dean's office, the dean of students, Dr. Kimberly Blea. Her office number is in 328 in the student union building. I know that we're not on campus right now. Some of us are not there, but you can reach us on our phone or even via email as well. We are now currently getting into the whole mixture of meeting with our students via Zoom. And so if you have questions or if you have concerns or want to reach out to us, you can always contact us that way as well. And so I'm on the right side. My name is Latasha. I deal with the center site students. We have 4 in New Mexico. We have Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, Santa Fe, and Farmington. And so if you have a student that is attending any of those center sites and is in need or would like any of our service or help, you can reach out to me via phone or via email. I am most definitely available through both. And at the end of this slide, I will be providing our crisis line number as well too. So if anything happens, say over the weekend or even after hours, office hours, then you can always reach out via those numbers, and I'll provide that for you. But right now, what the phone number you have here is just the office numbers. Okay. And so our program, like I have said, our office is located in the Student Union Building, room 328. We do have a COVID plan, so if a student does want to get in contact with us or want to see us in person, then you would just email us and let us know a day or time, and we will schedule a safe location to meet with you. Within our program as advocates and nationwide as well too, it's a little bit difficult for some students or student victims meeting with somebody through the Zoom, through the phone. And so if they really need that in-person connection, then we can always accommodate the students and meet with them in a safe manner, of course. And so also, again, we are located on main campus and also at our center site statewide. Our program is all about prevention and awareness. We provide the educational part, we provide the advocacy part, and the issues that we tackle, the topics that we tackle are sexual assault, domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, suicide crisis, and also students who are just going through emotional distress. If it's not you, then if you're working with a student and you're noticing certain signs, or you're noticing that the student is really going through a difficult time at that moment, we just encourage you to reach out to us. We like the warm handoff as well too. And so just let us know what the student is going through, and then we can take it from there. Our office is confidential. It is free for all NMHU students, and our office, like I said, is confidential. We work with our students. If the student is wanting to not disclose too much information regarding their situation, then we would respect that as well too. And so we are one of those locations on campus. I believe there are three. There is our program, and then we also have the Student Health Center, and I believe it was Ruth, sorry, she is the Title IX coordinator as well. So within the A of CARES, we provide advocacy, whether that be academic advocacy or even just legal support. I know we're not lawyers or anything like that, but we refer our students to legal aid as well. And with New Mexico Legal Aid, we work with resources that are on campus and also off campus as well. At the center sites, I specifically work with programs that are in the community of Santa Fe, Rio Rancho, Farmington, and in the metro area as well. And so our goal is just to make sure that our students have that support, whether that be making accommodations or making arrangements with housing, with their academic advisors, if they're student employees, is there an issue within their location? I know that with COVID, everything's going to be online, but this is kind of after COVID or even during as well, depending on the situation. But we're willing to work with our students and to make sure that their voices are heard and that their concerns are being addressed. Resources. We provide our students with resources based upon their situation. So if a student is wanting to speak, say, with somebody like a counselor, then we would work with our Student Health Center, or if they're at the center site, then I would reach out to a counselor within that community and just to get them that contact person. And often I would usually reach out for them as well, because sometimes it can be very intimidating when reaching out to somebody that they don't know regarding what they're going through. And so as us advocates, we're just walking beside our students to make sure and guiding them as well too. We don't make those decisions for them. We just guide them, like, this is your option, these are your options here. If you would like me to reach out for you, I can do so. And so we're just advocates that are willing to help our students and make sure that, again, their concerns are addressed, whether that be academic, or if they need somebody to go with them to within the criminal justice system as well. So I have the student health center here, their phone number, and I believe they are taking students right now, but it's on a phone basis. It's based upon with the whole COVID, just to make sure that that they're safe and that they're healthy. And from there, they would start the steps of meeting with their students, whether that be doing a mental health evaluation, or if they need a screening, or if they need to be referred somewhere else. The Student Health Center is free for all students, and so within the behavioral health, we want our main campus students to reach out if they need to speak with somebody. Again, for those students that are attending a center site, I would be the person that they would contact. And our counselors right now, nationwide or statewide, that I know are taking clients and speaking with them on the phone or on Zoom. And so they're doing their best as well to address and provide services for their clients as well. And so the number here that you can write down or just note down or save in your phone, the Student Health Center, is the 505-454-3218. So again, with our program, we do provide educational outreaches. We want to make sure that our program is providing information regarding sexual assault, or what is healthy relationship, what is social media safety. And most of these conversations are for our incoming freshmen, our transfer students, our new students, just to let them know that, Highlands is a campus that is, they follow the policies of student handbook, and so we want them to know that there are resources available, and also let them know that there is a program here for them that is continuing the highlight of these topic areas. That way they're not shoved underneath the rug, and to make sure that they are highlighted and that we are continuing to address them, and we're not stopping that conversation. We do try to make sure that our workshops and trainings are engaging, and so if you as a work study or a student or GA would like us to come in and have a conversation with your students, or just to give a little bit of some statistics, then you can always reach out to Dr. Ruthie Watson or myself as well.
I just want to give a 3-minute warning.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe this is the last slide. We have the thing that CARES, our S is support. We want to make sure our students supported. And that's a really big thing. We just want them to feel like their voices are heard. And by doing so, we do have ongoing initiatives, such as supporting our LGBTQ plus students, and also students who are coming from different countries, who are coming from different communities. We want to make sure our campus has that cultural sensitivity, and that we are providing that support for our students, whether they are struggling with English barriers, or they are wanting to speak with somebody regarding, discrimination. And the individual, I believe Ruth, our Title IX coordinator, will be speaking on that in this next presentation, I hope, about, your rights as a student here on campus. And so this is our office number. You can reach us at. Again, this is our crisis hotline number. There are 2 numbers here. You can write both of them down. Either number, an advocate will be available to speak with you, or if you want to respond via text, you can as well. And also our email. You can share with your student to let them know that they can reach out to us, or you can also contact them with us as well. Us there, just to follow us and let us share some inspirational words or anything like that. And so that is HU Cares. I hope your semester goes well. If there's anything that we can do to support you or to support your student, please let us know. We're here for you, and we're here to support our students as well.
If I may,
So that is.
as I was a graduate student a few years back, and the thing about having these close mentorships, especially if you're serving as a TA, is that students do feel comfortable and they're willing to share some things with you all. So being active and aware of these resources are going to be essential, because there may be a moment where a student is sharing something with you and they would need these resources. So HU Cares is an incredible resource. They're advocates for our students, and I'm very grateful that we have them. So thank you for your time today, Latasha.
Yes, thank you, Latasha. Thank you so much. And please, HU Cares is a great resource. Please use them, and just know that they are there for you. Not only you, but the other students that you work with, the other communities that you're building. So they're phenomenal. Okay, so thank you, Latasha, and thank you, HU Cares. So let's dive into our next exciting area. If for any chance you do have some questions, there was some great resources of people who you can contact, but if you have any questions, please chat. Let's get Ruth. Ruth is our Director of Compliance and Title IX. Hi, Ruth. And Ruth, if you are ready, the floor is yours.
Okay. Hi, graduate students and graduate assistants. So my office, the Office of Compliance and the Title IX Coordinator, It has a couple of roles. Let's just start. I'll start with the side that might be a little bit simpler to start off with, which is one of my roles is to accept complaints from students or employees, any member of the Highlands community who believes that they're the subject of discrimination on the basis of protected category like race, sex, sexual orientation. There's a full list available at the New Mexico Human Rights page, but essentially, if any person, whether it's a student or an employee, feels that they're the victim of discrimination, they can make a complaint to my office. And there's sometimes when people think it might be discrimination, they're not sure where to make a complaint, they're not sure if it's an academic complaint. Look, you don't have to know in advance. If you want to make a complaint, you can report it to me. If it's more appropriate for a different organization to handle it, like academic issues are generally handled by academic affairs, I will help you to redirect to the correct person. So please consider me as a resource if you have concerns within the realm of employment law. For those graduate students who are also graduate assistants, you are employees of the university and you have all the rights under federal and New Mexico employment law that any person has, any employee has. So that can include FMLA, wage and hour, all different kinds of issues that tend to fall under federal employment law are issues that I handle. So yeah, if you think that you were wrongly denied medical leave, if you feel that you were wrongly denied an accommodation, if you feel that there's discriminatory bias in some aspect of your education, whether that's Title IX, which is gender, or any other basis, which even though it's not Title IX, is still covered, it's still wrong to discriminate against students in any aspect of their education. Then, strictly speaking on the Title IX side. So some of you may be familiar with Title IX, some less so. It's a complicated area and it has recently changed very dramatically. So from a Title IX perspective, by the way, covers both students and employees. So all of our students are covered and all of our employees are covered. Title IX focuses on the issue of discrimination on the basis of sex. It also includes categories such as sexual assault, sexual harassment, things of that nature are considered discrimination on the basis of sex. And if you have concerns along those lines, or if you've experienced a non-consensual sexual experience, in addition to HU Cares, who can obviously give you support and help you decide how you want to proceed, my office, the Title IX office, will conduct investigations and make determinations along those lines. So I would also add that you can come and talk to me without it being a formal report. Not every person wants to make a formal report. It's the individual's decision. Don't think my office is not confidential in the way that a counseling center is, but when it comes to just people just expressing basic concerns, I'm open to those concerns, and I want to address them, and we can discuss the methodology that you're comfortable with, and how we can approach it. I will say that Title IX investigations, that's investigations specifically of sexual harassment and sexual assault, can never be anonymous under the current rule. So you can make a report that's anonymous. If you have a concern, you've seen somebody else affected and you make a report, but to initiate an investigation, it cannot be anonymous. So that's a new rule. It's a big change and it's kind of hard for us to wrap our mind around. So if you have questions, almost everyone has questions, please feel free to reach out. Don't feel like you need to have the answers before you reach out to me. Basically, sorry. I will add that although my office works closely with HU Cares will never tell me anything about your situation. unless you agree that you want them to. So like I said, even though I say that I would work closely with them, that is never in violation of your confidential relationship with the HU Cares. I will add that I just want to touch on the topic of mandatory reporting under Title IX. Depending on your experiences, if you've been a grad assistant at a different institution over the past several years, there have been some very, very major and significant changes to the Title IX's mandatory reporting rules. Under the law, a graduate student is not a mandatory reporter. New Mexico Highlands is planning to create a mandatory reporting policy. That policy takes some time to actually implement. However, in the interim, we ask and request that you continue to consider yourself a mandatory reporter of sexual assaults and sexual violence on campus. That said, we ask that you consider yourself that. It is not the law. So, you know, I realize that that is very confusing for some people, but the reality is we are working with a rapidly changing legal environment with Title IX, and we're all just going to have to do the best that we can. So if you have concerns, by the way, you can report the concerns of a student. That does not mean the student is obligated to participate or speak to me. So your report to me is one aspect. The student's decision about how they want to handle it, I'm talking about if you're reporting something that a student reported to you. The student's decision, how they want to proceed. But I would request that if a student reports something that is domestic violence, sexual violence, dating violence, sexual harassment by another student or by a faculty member or by a member of staff, I would ask you as graduate assistants to report it to me, and I can reach out to the student and find out how they want to proceed. Some may want to make a report, some may not want to make a report. It's kind of up to them. So those are my kind of baseline. Basically, if I were to give you one takeaway, it's that I'm your one-stop shop for reporting your work-related concerns and your concerns that relate to your students who may have experienced some form of sexual harassment or sexual violence, so, or yourselves. So please just kind of just keep me, Ruth Marian Polsky. Oh no, it's backwards. My name is Ruth Marian Polsky. My email is ruthm@nmhu.edu. If you go on the public facing website and you click Title IX, it has some contact information, and more contact information will also be, I'm working to develop some more informative pages within student and employee resources tabs. That will be coming, but is not ready yet. So again, I would love to hear from you about any of your concerns. If you can't remember who I am, and you're sort of like, I know there's some person I'm supposed to report to, you can report your concerns to any member of the senior member of the administration, the provost, the dean of students, director of HR, and they will direct you to me. So if that's appropriate. So I want to be available. I'm available by email and by phone, and be a resource to all students. And just remember, graduate assistants, you're both students and you're employees. You have all the rights of a student and all the rights of an employee. So that's my spiel. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? I think we have a minute or two, Veronica.
Yeah, we actually have a little bit more than a minute or two, but I don't want to rush anyone. So please, if there is any concerns or questions, or just, I don't know.
Or any areas you'd like to hear more about?
Exactly.
Would it be okay if I asked a question?
Sure.
Leon,
Who is that?
So, this is Leon. It's good to see you again. When I was a grad student, one of the biggest concerns that I had, and it actually came up, was sometimes in some of the writings the students actually turned in when I was grading, there was some indications that something was going on. At that point, if it's in writing, it's not something that is directly spoken with. Does that fall under the lines of mandatory reporting?
That's an interesting question. And I think part of what makes it so interesting is that it sort of depends on the context where students are writing. Like if it's a creative writing project, you can't really know what, even though you may feel like, wow, this has the ring of truth to it, you may not know if they're really describing something that happened to them, something that happened to a friend, or what. Alternatively, if the student has an autobiography project and they are saying, this is what happened to me directly, it might give you a stronger concern. I mean, at the end of the day, I will add that when it comes to Title IX, it does have to be like tied into campus, either having happened on campus or during a campus activity or in a campus building or a sports event or something like that. So, you know, if you have concerns that the student is experiencing some kind of non-campus related abuse, you can always reach out to HU Cares to kind of get their advice on how to approach that. But for on-campus connected situations, it's hard for me to say a blanket rule. I can imagine certain situations where you would feel that it's so strongly pointing towards a form of sexual abuse that you do feel like you need to report it. Other situations are a bit more ambiguous. And I would just say, if you're in doubt, report your concerns to me. You can just tell me the information that you do know, right? All that you do know. And it may form the basis for me to reach out to the student and it may not. But I would just say, if you're feeling uncomfortable with what you're seeing in front of you, you can reach out to me. Does that make sense?
When in doubt, reach out.
Yay! I could have come up with that, but I didn't.
It's okay. It's one of my many talents. Weird slogans are puns. Either way.
Yeah, and I would just say that just to throw out also graduate students, you know, be very cautious, very professional in your dealings with students. Just be very aware. You may be for the first time making the transition from being a student to being an authority figure, and be very aware that you know what's in your heart or what your intentions are. The student can only go by their actual interactions with you, right? And those are very limited. So, you know, just be very professional, keep the social lines separated in your interactions with students. And that is just so that you're always on the right line of a student complaint as well. And it doesn't mean you can't be friendly. It doesn't mean you can't be nice, but nice is nice and over-involved is over-involved. In your roles, you are authority figures to the students. And sometimes it's hard to remember that because you just like feel like the same person you were 5 months ago when you were an undergrad, right? but now you are an authority figure. So hold that in your mind and know that you can have a lot of undue influence on the perceptions of students that you don't even intend. So just be very cautious and professional. And I would also say that some graduate students are very comfortable texting, some are not, some are comfortable using email, some are comfortable giving out their personal cell phone numbers, some are not. You don't have to interact with a student in a method that you're not comfortable with. I know you want to be available, but if you would feel more comfortable emailing with the student, then email with them. If you would feel more comfortable meeting with them in person, then set that up. Don't take on an interaction that you yourself are not comfortable with, because that discomfort will play out into an awkward interaction with the student. That could, you know, so yeah, just stick with professional methods, stick with what you feel comfortable and confident. If you feel uncertain about a student concern that isn't Title IX related, there's always places to reach out for advice, whether it's mentors, professors that you work with, HU Cares, a lot of different options. You're not left to resolve every uncertain gray area situation on your own. But you should expect that some uncertain and gray area situations will crop up over the course of a year.
Yes. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ruth. I know that this topic can be kind of deep, and you may not have any questions right now. It might be a couple weeks from now, and you're in your classes, or you're in a study session or something, and something might come up. Please remember that Ruth is here, and we're all here to support you. But Ruth is your go-to, so please feel free. Anything else, Ruth, before we move on?
That's all for right now. I just want to welcome you all to, oh, and by the way, it doesn't matter if you're in Las Vegas or Rio Rancho or Albuquerque. I serve all the students and all the employees. So.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, I know that we have a couple of our GAs who are on, who are from, they're in all other places too, not just here in New Mexico. So yeah. please. Time zones, but
yep, we're all becoming much more accustomed to and experienced with remote interactions. So
excellent.
Don't hesitate.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ruth, and thank you for your
Thanks,
time.
Ruth.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we should just power on. I think we should just kind of keep moving on, and our next guest to the show is Henrietta Romero. She is our registrar. Henrietta, are you on with us today? There you are.
Hi.
Friday. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Thank you so much for being here. I know that technically your session doesn't start until about 5-6 minutes, but if you're cool, let's just go ahead and get this done, and that way we can maybe end early. Are you cool with that?
Sure. If I am in between ending early, then I'm gonna power through if y'all are.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, if everybody's ready, we're gonna dive into FERPA. This is our last thing on our agenda today, so without further ado, and no questions, no concerns, Henrietta, I'm gonna turn the floor over to you.
Awesome. So I'm gonna turn off my camera just because for feed wise and bandwidth and all of that good stuff, and I'm gonna be sharing my screen. So by all means, there may be some questions that come up. I'm happy to answer those questions either as they come up or towards the end, depending on how you guys have that structured, Veronica. So whatever works. If you guys want to use the chat, that's great. If somebody will be moderating that for me, then I'll be.
Leon Busto is monitoring our chat for us. So if that's your method, just kind of go with the flow. Yeah, Leon's
awesome. There. All right, let's get started. Okay, let's see.
Henrietta, we can see your notes.
Yeah, my presentation screen. Give me 1 second.
Oh, okay, not a problem. I always have my notes up anyway, so it always happens to me too.
We're gonna start this over.
Excellent.
There we go. That's the right one.
Awesome.
All right, well, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Henrietta Romero. I am your university registrar. Welcome to all of you. If you're new students to Highlands, welcome. We are glad to have you on board. If you're a continuing student and have been here before, welcome back. I'm gonna go over just some FERPA basics for you. And it's not gonna be super long. I don't wanna take up a whole bunch of your time, but I kind of wanna let you know kind of where your responsibility lies with regards to being graduate assistants and how you work with the student data that you have. So with regards to that, I'll just cover some basic items that you're going to need to know throughout your time here. So what is FERPA? It is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act of 1974. It's also known as the Buckley Amendment. It applies to all institutions that receive any type of funding under the U.S. Department of Education and the Secretary of Education. The FERPA policy compliance happens under the Family Policy Compliance Office under the Department of Ed. Again, institutions receiving federal funding that are administered under the Secretary of Education are required to abide by all of the FERPA regulations. Now, granted, this training is not supposed to make you an expert. That's what you have me for. So if you ever have questions with regards to release of information and that kind of thing, you can contact my office. Those who create and maintain education records are responsible for implementing FERPA. Those who utilize the education record in performing their jobs, and those who may disclose information from the education record and or are custodians of the education record, and most importantly, all of you. Since you'll be working with student information and student data, this does apply to you. You do have some specific requirements with regards to what you're responsible for during the time that you are working with any of the student data you come in contact with during your graduate assistantship with the university. Basic definitions under FERPA: eligible student. So that means any student who matriculates at the institution and enrolls for a course, regardless of whether the semester has begun or not. And so this includes those students who register during the early registration period. They're considered an eligible student the minute that their registration is confirmed in our student information system. Attendance means any attempt to enroll or complete a semester at the institution. And so let's say, for example, a student enrolls and then, I don't know, 4 weeks into the semester, the student has to withdraw. They withdraw from all their classes. They're no longer in attendance officially. That record is still considered attendance under the federal regulation. And so we're required to maintain a record for the student for a certain period of time. And so the information with regards to that record is also protected. Legitimate educational interest. Now, this will be the biggest tenet of FERPA that is going to be part of what your responsibilities are. And basically what legitimate educational interest is you inquire and or utilize student information in order for you to complete the basic duties of your role. So as graduate assistants, you're going to come in contact with student information like student ID numbers, class rosters, grading, that kind of stuff. And so the legitimate educational interest for you lies within your responsibilities under the contract that you've been approved for. A school official. School officials are anyone that is contracted by the university in any way, shape, or form. And so this includes work study students, it includes graduate assistant students, it includes our agents, it includes legal team, it includes our board of regents, it includes everyone that we happen to do business with that we may share some information or have a legal agreement with. The education record. In most cases, people think the education record is just the permanent record that is housed in registrar. That's not it. It's well beyond that. An education record is anything that can personally identify a student, whether it be by student ID number, social username, unique password, unique ID, anything that can really identify a student. And that includes login information through like our LMS, so through Brightspace. It also includes login information and activity on your self-service accounts that you have through the NMHU My Portal. And then eligible parent or guardian. Eligible parent or guardian are those individuals that can establish that the student, the eligible student, is a dependent. And the eligible parent or guardian, if they provide that information, it usually only happens in one academic year because it follows the rules under section 152 of the IRS tax code. And students have what we consider, and FERPA considers, 4 primary rights. The first is the right to inspect and review the education record. Students have a right to inspect and review their specific education records. If they submit a request for inspection and review, that request comes to the registrar's office. That request has to be fulfilled within 45 calendar days. And we will provide a date and a time for the student to do inspection and review. When students request inspection and review of their record, they have to be specific. So they can't tell the institution, I want to see everything you have. That is not a legitimate request. You have to indicate the specific records in the specific area that you would like to review or that the student wants to review in order for that request to be honored. Students also have the right to some control over the disclosure of their information from education records. Now, this means that they can decide who has access to know if their financial aid has been awarded, if they're registered, all of those types of things. And so a student's FERPA rights initially transfer from the parent to the student upon enrollment at post-secondary education, regardless of age. Now, this will include dual credit students. We have a small population of dual credit students that are under the age of maturity, so under 18. And so parents assumably think that because their student is a minor, that they have access to their information because they're a minor. Once they attend our institution or any post-secondary institution, those rights transfer from the parent to the student regardless of age. And students will have to complete a request in order to determine who that third party is, including parents that may have access to their record, and they submit those requests to this office. Students also have the right to seek an amendment to their education record. If for some reason they believe that some of the information after an inspection and review is a little bit misleading, they have a right to request the inspection and amendment to the education record. And what this means is that you can't just change anything. Now, they will submit their request for the amendment, but the institution doesn't always have to approve that. It's done on a case-by-case basis, depending on the information that's being provided and or shared and requested to be changed. If the student doesn't get an approval to have an amendment to the record, they have the right to place some sort of notation in the file in order to provide more clarity with regards to the specific record. They also have a right to file a complaint with the FPCO office. If a student feels like their FERPA rights for whatever reason have been violated under these 4 primary controls, they can file a complaint with the Family Policy Compliance Office, which then comes to us for investigation. And they'll determine whether or not there was in fact a breach of the student's information or not. So I encourage you to make sure that when you have interactions with third parties other than the student, that you have a legitimate reason to do so. A parent calling you and asking you status or updates on student progress in a class, that's really not a legitimate way for you to provide information to them unless there is a release on file, which is housed with this office. And so also know that if you do get calls like that, you are not required to provide an immediate response. You can always tell the third party that you will need to get back to them with regards to the information they're seeking. And if need be, you can reach out to my office and we can kind of help you with that. So this document is a requirement in terms of publication that we have to provide to students each year. So this document is provided in the NMHU self-service portal. So in your NMHU portal, it is listed there. So students can review this and it gives you the option to either accept or decline. So if you accept, it means that you have read and you understand your rights as a student at the institution and what NMHU lists as directory information. Now, typically directory information by definition is information that can be released to a third party without the student's written consent. Directory information is listed in bold at the bottom and includes the student's name, address, telephone listing, electronic mail address, photograph, date, and place of birth, major field of study, dates of attendance, grade level, participation in officially recognized sports and activities, weight and height of members of athletic teams, degrees, honors, and awards received, and the most recent educational institution attended. And so tip, just so you all know, directory information, while we at the institution don't need the students' written permission to release it, the institution is very cautious with directory information requests. We do not provide directory information just to, there has to be justification as to why that happens. And those requests are vetted through the registrar's office as well as through our university relations office before anything is to be released to a third party that includes those specific items. Now, students who would like to not have their directory information shared can contact our office, and we'll provide you with a form that you would complete that would prevent your information from being released as directory information in the event that the institution received a request and or was able to release the directory information. Legitimate educational interest, again, this means everyone, you basically need to make sure that you are only accessing information that you need to perform the duties of your role. This doesn't mean that you're accessing the record of a colleague or a friend or a relative or anything like that. It means that the information you're accessing is only for the purposes of you completing the requirements of your duties. Access is granted with legitimate educational interest only and is done at the discretion of the appropriate director or department manager. And the integrity of your processes and compliance really rests on the legitimate educational interest and access to student data. As I mentioned before, you want to make sure that you are only accessing the data that you need, and that data is required for you to complete the basic duties of your job, not for any other reason. Just real quick, in terms of basic information, if you ever receive requests for student information from the education record, by all means, please send that request to this office. We will vet it. We will work with university relations to determine whether or not the information can be released to the third party. Ensure that your student records are kept orderly and only identify the student and not a group of students, only because anything that has any identifying information to identify a specific student is subject to inspection and review. Ensure that you maintain the integrity of your student record. Don't involve yourself in an action that will question the integrity and legitimate educational interest of your role. Keep personal sole possession records relating to individual students separate from the education record, because sole possession records are not subject to inspection and review. So a good example of what a sole possession record would be is, for example, in the registrar's office, I have a log of all the voicemail I receive. And so I log it down, and that way I know who called at what time and what I did to help them. That's considered a sole possession record and is not subject to inspection and review and is not part of the education record. So if you happen to work with students and you're keeping like a voicemail log, something like that, then that's not considered part of the education record. It's considered a sole possession record. Just some normal kind of do's and don'ts with regards to what to do and what not to do. Don't display student scores or grades publicly in association with their name, with their social, with their ID number, or any type of personal identifier. That can't be public information. That may not be such an issue right now with everything going on with COVID, because really there's not many face-to-face classes. Those ones that are face-to-face are quite limited. Mostly everything is online. And so even when you're in your online platforms, just be sure that you're not sharing that kind of information in the online environment either. Don't request or access information from the education record without a legitimate educational interest and the appropriate authority to do so. You basically want to make sure that you are only accessing information that is required for you to complete the basic duties of your role. And also, don't ask for access to specific aspects of the institution's modules or information systems unless you do have legitimate educational interest. And that'll be vetted through your departments, most likely with regards to what access you're going to have. And don't discuss the education record of any student with anyone other than the student, which includes parents, without verified written consent of the student. The verified written consent that you would need would be housed in this office. You're welcome to contact us. It's also listed in the faculty tab on the self-service banner if you have that faculty tab associated with the course. Don't provide any lists of students for any commercial purpose. Again, any directory information requests are to be sent to this office as well as the University Relations Office, and we work in tandem to make sure that only when the information is eligible to be displayed, to be released, do we do that. But we take it very seriously, and we don't just provide directory information lists just to. Don't provide anyone with a schedule or assist anyone in finding a student on campus. Obviously, there are exceptions that apply to this rule. Those exceptions are typically determined by this office as well as campus police. And the majority of that really is a health or safety emergency, either to the student or to the campus. So if you have a request from someone to locate a student or find a student, or they're trying, you know, regardless of the situation, whether it's an emergency situation or not, by all means, please call this office first, refer them here first, and then we can kind of vet it and determine exactly what needs to happen.
Henrietta, it's Veronica. I just want to let you know you have about another minute.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Again, what about parents? Students, FERPA rights transfer from them at age 18, from the parents at age 18, or once they enroll in post-secondary education, regardless of their age. And institutions will decide when FERPA begins, and for us, it begins when a student enrolls. And parents may obtain directory information at the institution's discretion. Again, we will determine when that happens for any case. Exceptions do apply. And parents or legal guardians can obtain non-directory information from the institution. There is some establishment requirements that have to happen before we do that. And so we work pretty well with parents in terms of them accessing the information and what needs to be submitted to this office. So if you have parents that need information, you can't provide it to them, you're welcome to forward them here. And overall, just when in doubt, don't give it out. That's my best advice to you. If it seems, you know, out of the ordinary or anything like that, then I would just suggest that, yeah, just don't give it out. You can contact us. We'll help support you. And that's my contact information for my office. I will also provide this information in the chat for you all, so that way you guys have it. You can reach out to myself or any member of my team, and we'll be happy to help you. Was there any questions, Veronica or Leon?
No, nothing popped up in the chat directly relating to this topic at this moment.
Okay.
I'm sure as the semester progresses, there might be moments or questions that you might have. And again, Henrietta has put her, is it Dr. Romero now?
Not yet.
Oh,
I'm getting there.
Oh, I knew you were so close, and I just wanted to make sure I was using the proper titles because it's cool. Doctors are getting a doctorate is no joke. But yeah. Oh wait. There might be a question. Give me just a second. Oh, in response to the question in the chat, I dropped the link to where this recording and all of the materials for this orientation will lay once I upload this video later today. So that link is already in the chat. Go ahead and grab it and allow it to be a resource for you. Henrietta, thank you so much for your time and your resources.
Anytime. I wish you all the best. Have a great fall semester. And if there's ever anything you need from this office, by all means, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'd be happy to help you in any way we can.
Awesome. Thank you. And before we all go, Dr. Williamson has some closing remarks. I know we're a little bit over time, so those that do need to leave, we understand. But if you can hang around for just a couple more seconds, Dr. Williamson will send us off. Thank you again, Henrietta. I really appreciate your time.
No problem.
All right. Dr.
Okay, everyone,
Williamson.
I don't have much, but I do want to say thank you all for coming. I know a lot of the information today is very dry, general information about graduate students in general, but hopefully you have a better understanding of the university and how your graduate studies sit inside the university. Don't hesitate to reach out to our office if you have any general issues. And we would just like to welcome you. This is a really amazing opportunity for you all and for Highlands, because it's really the chance for you to turn the corner on your education and bring it to another level where you're able to ready yourselves professionally, where you're able to go into some of the deeper questions in your field and have discussions with colleagues who are similarly passionate about your opportunities to grow. And it's also, you're just going to position yourself much better in the job market should you complete this degree. It really changes the game and allows you to work in your areas of interest more readily. So I invite you all to reach out again, and I hope that you learned today about anything you need to know about being a graduate student at Highlands University.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Williamson. We did have one final question in our chat. The question is, can you obtain a certification, a GIS, before you graduate / complete your thesis?
I'm gonna answer that hesitatingly. Just go over to the folks who you're getting your degree from. I think the answer is yes. So I think you can complete the coursework in a GIS and have that certificate in place even before you get you complete your degree. But check with the people in GIS to see if that's true, like Joe Zabrowski and the folks over there.
Awesome. Awesome. Very cool. Thank you again, everyone, for being a part of the orientation today. I wish you the best of semesters. I know that things are a little different in our traditional sense, but it only just means that we can learn and grow, and maybe something cool will come of it. So I wish you the best of your semester, and just let you know that these people are here to help and guide you, and we want to see you complete this successful adventure. So with that, without any further ado, have a good Friday. Have a good weekend. Have a good semester. See you all later.
Thanks, everyone.